Let me follow up on that, if I might. Under the Giuliani rules that were in place on 9/11, if there was an aviation crash on land, the fire department was to be the unified incident commander. Was that your understanding at the time?
It depended on the location of the aircraft disaster. If it was on the if it was on the airport itself, the Port Authority would be the incident commander. If it was off the airport, it would be New York City Fire Department. I'm not saying that the fire department didn't come to the airport. What would happen would be fire department would respond to one location, and then they would go out in a manner.
Well, let's assume an aviation crash on a Port Authority property that isn't the airport, to wit, the World Trade Center. Okay, you have an aviation crash, and under the rules, the unified incident commander was to be the fire department.
Yes.
But we don't see evidence of the unity. Was it your understanding at the time that if there was an aviation crash on land, that the fire department was to be the unified command?
Yes.
Was it, in the instance that you described this morning, the unified commander of that disaster?
At Tower 1, as you saw, you had Chief Pfeiffer. We sent a police supervisor there to give him the support that the Port Authority resources had. He was the one in charge of that. He would tell us, and if we found information, the information would come in, who would be best to handle going up to that floor to make that recovery or whatever. That's what that Port Authority supervisor was there to work. But the chief from the fire department, he was the incident commander.
And everyone else, including the police department, was supposed to report to that command and follow that command's instructions. Is that your understanding?
In the building, yes.
That's obviously a question we will pursue with later panels. Under the newly promulgated rules that were announced on Friday, an aviation crash on land has primary agencies listed as the fire department, the police department, and the Port Authority, all three. Does that make things better or worse?
It's just, I think, better defining what the role is. We always came there. It's defining what we have to work together. And whoever has the expertise for a certain matter would bring it up to the commanders the commander at the scene.
Well, then, to follow up on Commissioner Hamilton's question, it's your view, then, that a decision would be made on scene among these three agencies who would report to an aviation crash on land as to which one of them would be in control? Is that your understanding of what would happen under these new rules?
With the fire, it's very clear it would be the fire department. And we would offer the resources of both the Port Authority, whether they needed our crash fire truck to respond or help. And the fire department would be the lead. New York City Police Department would give them resources and doing what the police perform with their specialties.
Thank you for that answer. I'd like to ask one question and follow up for Mr. Reiss. Both Commissioner Lehman and Commissioner Romer asked you about the effort to essentially perform fire drills. And we noted in our hearing that we had at Drew that the Morgan Stanley evacuation drilling actually saved lives, that they were the most successful at getting all of their people out, and many people attribute that to the fact that they actually practiced getting out of the building. You acknowledge that that wasn't part of the drill, that the World Trade Center drilling process had people gather at a central location, and then they would get instructions, which process clearly broke down in the chaos that we saw evidenced and reviewed this morning. Was the reason that fire drills did not generally practice going out of the building, fully evacuating down the stairs, a concern on the part of the World Trade Center management about liability for people going down the stairs in a practice?
No, it wasn't. No one ever brought that concern to me. Rick Riscola or the other Morgan Stanley people, if they had wanted to do it, we'd let them do it. No, we tried to basically follow what the guidelines from the Bureau of Fire Prevention. Everybody that was an operations staff that worked around the clock for me went to like NYU and got certified as fire safety directors, took an on-site test from the fire department, and followed a basic script. And that did not have people going down. That had us telling them what to expect, but it did not have them going down the stairs.
So anyone who wanted, any employer in the buildings who wanted to exercise as fully as Morgan Stanley did with their individuals' training to actually exit the building could have done so without any obstacle from World Trade Center management. Is that right?
I would have given them permission. In fact, a number of tenants used to sometimes use the fire stairs to get between two floors. Certain elevator banks would end, let's say, on the 67th floor. If you wanted to go to 68, they didn't want to go all the way down to the sky lobby on 44, so they would go back and forth between the floors and use the stairs.
Thank you.